Welcome to the world of synchronization. Adam Smith's years of experience in timecode and synchronization technology and our participation in the development of MIDI specifications have led to the creation of the ZETA-THREE. In one small package, the ZETA-THREE is one of the most powerful tools available for the small video post-production suite, the small audio recording studio, or for musicians or composers using MIDI-controlled instruments. This tape is designed to help you get your ZETA-THREE up and running. We'll go through step-by-step setup and operational procedures, and some basic operational configurations. Everything covered in this tape, plus much more, is also covered by your ZETA-THREE instruction manual. Let's get started with a typical installation for synchronizing an audio tape recorder, defined as the slave transport, to a video deck, defined as the master transport. For our demonstration, we'll be using an Otari 5050 Mark III 8-track audio recorder and a JVC CR850 video cassette recorder. With a few exceptions, which we'll point out, the same procedures will work for most master and slave transports. After unpacking the ZETA-THREE, first check to see that the AC on-off switch is in the off position. Next, verify that you have the correct transport control cables. The specific control cables for your installation should have been ordered with your ZETA-THREE. Now, connect the control cable from the Master Transport's remote connector to the ZETA-THREE Master Transport connector. In the same manner, connect the Slave Transport control cable from the Slave Transport's remote connector to the ZETA-THREE's Slave Transport connector. Now, connect the AC cord to the ZETA-THREE. We're just about ready to start, but a note of caution. Make sure the ZETA-THREE is off before changing a cable. Changing cables with the power on can damage either your ZETA-THREE or your tape transport. Turn the power on. After a few seconds, the front panel display will read Generator Timecode, abbreviated GTC, followed by the numbers 01000000. This represents the default timecode address of the ZETA-THREE's timecode generator. That is 1 hour, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, and 0 frames. The first step is selection of the master transport. Press the group key once. The display will change to Master Timecode, followed by a series of dashes. We'll be mentioning the index key quite a lot from here on. This is the key with the blue up arrow and the red down arrow. To index up, press the index key. To index down, press the right-hand shift key and the index key. Press the menu key once, and then the index key until the display shows the Master Transport menu, shown as Transport with an arrow pointing to the right. The arrow indicates that there is a submenu. To reach the Transport submenu, press Menu key again, then the index key until the appropriate transport is displayed, in this case, the JVC CR850. Now press the Capture key to save the Master Transport selection. The next step is Slave Transport selection. Press the group key until the display reads Slave Timecode, indicated as STC, followed by a series of dashes. Press the menu key once, and then the index key until the display shows the Slave Transport menu, shown as Transport with an arrow pointing to the right, indicating that there is a submenu. Press the menu key again, and then the index key until the appropriate slave transport is displayed, in this case, the Otari 5050 34 pin. Press the Capture key to save the slave transport selection. Remember, the selection of the JVC 850 and the Otari 5050 are for our demonstration. Be sure to select the proper transports for your installation. If by mistake you should go beyond the desired menu or selection, press the Shift key on the right side of the ZETA-THREE and the index key to step backward. Please note, unlike a typewriter or computer, the two shift keys on the ZETA-3 have different functions. The shift key on the left side of the ZETA-3's front panel affects only the keys on the left side of the panel, while the shift key on the right side of the front panel affects only the keys on the right side of the ZETA-3 panel. Before going any further, let's check transport operation. Insert a video cassette in the VCR and make sure tape is properly loaded on the audio transport. Press the key marked Enable Master. Its amber LED will turn on. Now press the Stop Continue key. The master transport should play. Pressing the key a second time will stop the transport. Now, disable the master transport by pressing the Enable Master key again. Repeat this procedure with the slave transport using the Enable Slave key. The slave transport should start and stop. If the transports do not operate, turn off the ZETA-3 and check all cable connections. Then turn the power back on and check that the transport selections are correct. If house sync is available, it's good practice to feed it to the ZETA-3. Using a 75 ohm coaxial cable with a BNC type connector, connect a source of composite video, composite sync, black burst, or color bars to the video in connector on the ZETA-3. Be sure to terminate the loop-through with a 75 ohm terminator. Connect the same sync source to your video transport. If house sync is not available, ignore this step. Next, let's set the time code generator to the proper standard. Press the group key until the display shows the Zeta System Go-To point, abbreviated ZGO. Press the menu key once. Then the index key until Zeta System menu Frames Equals is displayed. Now move the cursor so that the number to the right of the equals sign flashes. Press the index key until the display reads 29.97. This is the non-drop frame video rate. In some situations, other frame rates will be required. Consult Appendix A in your ZETA-3 instruction manual for additional timecode information. Now that we've set the frame rate, we must tell the ZETA-3 what reference to use. If your ZETA-3 is to be referenced to house sync, press the group key until the display shows the Zeta System Go-To point, abbreviated ZGO. Then press the menu key and then the index key until the Zeta System Resolve Equals is displayed. Move the cursor to the right side of the display. Now press the index key until the display reads Video. If the ZETA-3 is not to be referenced to house sync, press the index key until the display reads Off. This completes the basic system setup for slaving an audio transport to a video recorder. It is not necessary to go through the setup procedures each time the ZETA-3 is turned on. Menu selections will be retained by the ZETA-3 even if the power is turned off. Now let's connect timecode cables. A timecode cable must be connected from the Master Transport Timecode Out connector to the ZETA-3 Master Code In connector, so that the ZETA-3 can receive master timecode. In the same manner, connect a cable from the Slave Transport Timecode Out to the ZETA-3 Slave Code In connector, allowing the ZETA-3 to receive slave timecode. To allow you to record timecode, connect a timecode cable from the ZETA-3 Gen Code Out connector to an input on the transport. As a general rule, the highest numbered track is used for timecode. In this case, we'll record timecode on track 8 of the slave transport. We'll assume you already have a videotape with non-drop frame timecode and program material previously recorded. Play the videotape and display the timecode being read by pressing the group key until the display reads Master Timecode. If proper timecode is present, the master timecode LED will light and timecode will appear in the display. Now let's record timecode on the slave tape. When striping timecode, the transport must always be set to run at internal or fixed speed. Some transports have internal-external switches. Others are automatically in the internal mode unless instructed to switch to external through their remote connector. Check your tape transport's instruction manual. For convenience and simplicity, the master and slave tapes should have corresponding timecode. That is, if the timecode on the master tape starts at 1 hour, the timecode on the slave tape should also start at 1 hour. The ZETA-3 allows us to achieve this in a number of ways. We can preset the timecode generator, or we can copy timecode. For now, we'll preset the generator. We'll cover copying timecode later in this tape. Press the group key until generator timecode is displayed. The factory default timecode starting point is 1 hour. If this does not correspond with the starting timecode address on your videotape, set the ZETA-3's timecode generator to a corresponding starting timecode address by using the cursor and index keys. For audio transports, timecode should be recorded between -5 VU and -10 VU. Adjust the input level if necessary. Put the transport into record and start the timecode generator by pressing the generator run key. Record timecode on the entire tape. Once this has been done, press the group key until slave timecode is displayed. Using the tape transport's controls, rewind and play back the tape just recorded. The slave timecode LED will light and timecode will appear on the display. Now that we've striped our slave transport tape with timecode, we can proceed with transport synchronization. Press the master and slave enable keys. The amber LEDs will light up and the ZETA-3 will cue the slave transport to the optimum point for fast lock. This will not correspond precisely to the master timecode address. The slave transport will fast forward or rewind, then park when cued. Now, press the Stop Continue key. Both transports will play, and the amber Chase LED will turn on. When the transports are locked, the Chase LED will go out, and the red Lock LED will light. Now, press Stop. Both transports will stop. Press Continue. The master transport will roll and the slave transport will chase the master and the lock LED will turn on when synchronization has been achieved. Repeat this sequence a few times for the benefit of the ZETA-3's learning routines. A little while ago, we established the starting timecode for our slave transport tape by presetting the timecode generator. Sometimes it is more convenient to copy timecode from one tape to another. The ZETA-3 provides two copy modes, jam sync and transfer. In both cases, the ZETA-3 reads timecode from the leftmost enabled device and generates a new but identical timecode stream. There is only one difference between jam sync and transfer. When jam syncing, if the copy source stops, the new timecode number stream will continue to be output through the ZETA-3's GenCode out connector. In the transfer mode, if the copy source stops, the new timecode will also stop. For most applications, jam syncing is the preferable mode. Let's go through the procedure for copying timecode from our master transport to our slave transport. First, press the group key until generator timecode is displayed. Now press the menu key and the index key until generator menu copy mode equals is displayed. This should read copy mode equals jam. If the display reads copy mode equals transfer, press the cursor and index keys until the display reads copy mode equals jam. Next, be sure the master is enabled. Check to see that the amber LED is lighted. Press the left-hand shift key and then the copy generator key. The generator key's amber LED will light steadily and its red LED will flash. Now, manually place the slave deck in record mode. Using the stop continue key on the ZETA-3, put the master transport in play. The amber LED and the copy gen key will go out, and the red LED will turn on solid. At the same time, the ZETA-3 display will read rejam for a second and then display the new timecode stream. Remember, any time you record timecode on a slave transport, the internal-external switch must be set to internal. Until now, we've been dealing with tapes having identical timecode sequences. This, in effect, is a zero offset. There will be times, however, when master and slave tapes will have different timecode numbers. In order to synchronize these tapes, a positional relationship between the tapes must be established. This positional relationship is referred to as an offset. An offset is calculated as slave timecode address minus master timecode address. If the offset value is known, it can be entered through the Slave Offset menu. Press the Group key until the slave timecode is displayed. Now hold down the right-hand Shift key and press the Group key until the display shows Slave Offset, abbreviated SOFS. The offset value can now be entered using the cursor and index keys. If the exact offset is not known, it must be determined using a trial and error method. The fastest method is to capture an approximate offset and then trim that offset value until lip sync is achieved. Another method of determining the exact offset is to slew the slave transport. Slewing the slave transport is accomplished by increasing or decreasing the speed of the slave transport while it is running in synchronization with the master. Let's go through both of these procedures. To trim an offset, park the slave and master transports as close to the correct positional offset as possible. This can be done either manually or using the ZETA-3. Once this is done, enter the Slave Offset menu and press the Capture key. Now press the Enable Master and Enable Slave keys. Once the transports have locked, we can trim the offset by entering numeric values using the index and cursor keys. To establish an offset by slowing the slave, park the slave and master transports as close to the correct sync points as possible. Again, this can be done either manually or using the ZETA-3. Now, enter the slave offset and press Capture. Press the Enable Master and Enable Slave keys. With the transports running in synchronization, enter the Slave Slew menu from the Slave Offset menu by pressing and holding the right-hand Shift key while pressing the Group key. We can now choose Fast or Slow Slew with the cursor key. If the cursor is in the tenths of a frame position, the ZETA-3 will slew at a rate of 1/10 of a frame per second. With the cursor in the hundredths of a frame per second position, the ZETA-3 will slew the tape in increments of 1/100th of a frame. Pressing the index key or the shift key plus the index key will slew the slave in a positive or negative direction, respectively. Once the index key is pressed, the display will read slew hold, and the numeric amount of the slew will be displayed. After slewing, capture the slew value by pressing the capture key. The slew value will be added to the slave offset value. The chase LED will turn off, and the lock LED will light solidly. Next, we'll connect a MIDI sequencer to the ZETA-3. For our demonstration, we'll be using a Yamaha QX3. Connecting your sequencer to the ZETA-3 will allow the Zeta to control the sequencer's playback tempo. First, connect the MIDI out of the ZETA-3 to your sequencer MIDI in connector using a standard MIDI cable. Next, connect your master keyboard MIDI out to the ZETA-3 MIDI in. This will allow you to perform live on your master keyboard while the sequencer is locked to your tape machines. When you have connected the MIDI cables, load a song into your sequencer and select external MIDI clock on your sequencer. Okay, we're ready to continue. We now need to tell the ZETA-3 at what timecode value to begin playing the sequencer. Press the group key until the display reads as shown, dB 120.00, 0001/01.1. This is the MIDI tempo map display. D indicates that this is the MIDI display group. B 120.00 indicates a tempo of 120 beats per minute. 0001/01.1 indicates bar 1, beat 1, 16th note number 1. This display will always indicate your current tempo and position in the song. To enter a start time, press the menu key once and then the index up until MIDI menu Song Setup with an arrow is displayed. Now, press the menu key again. The display will read Start. Enter a starting time using the index and cursor keys. For convenience, we'll use a starting time of 1 hour and 1 minute. Press the right-hand Shift key and then press the menu key once to back up one menu layer. The MIDI menu Song Setup with an arrow is displayed. Now, index up to the MIDI menu Merge Equals. Move the cursor to the right and, using the index key, select All. The ZETA-3 will now combine the keyboard performance MIDI data from your master keyboard with the song pointer tempo and position data created by the tempo map and output this data to your sequencer. This will allow you to perform on your master keyboard while your sequencer is locked to the master tape machine. Now press the group key once to return to the tempo map display. To play the sequencer at the ZETA-3's default tempo of 120 beats per minute, press the MIDI Enable key. Its amber LED will light. This puts the MIDI sequencer under Zeta control. To play the sequencer from the ZETA-3, press the Stop Continue key, and your sequencer will start. Pressing Stop Continue again will stop your sequencer. Okay, we're ready to lock the slave transport and the MIDI system to the master transport. But first, let's locate the system to a specific timecode address. Pick a timecode address at the head of your tape. For our demonstration, we'll use 1 hour and 1 minute. Press the group key until the display shows the Zeta System Go-To point, abbreviated ZGO. The letter Z indicates that this is a Zeta System display, and GO indicates the System Go-To point expressed in timecode. Set ZGO to 1 hour and 1 minute using the index and cursor keys. Next, we have to set the pre-roll time. Pre-roll is an amount of time prior to the ZGO point, required to allow the system to lock and for the performer to acclimate to the material. Press the menu key once and then press the index key until you reach the System Pre-roll menu. Enter a pre-roll of 6 seconds. 0600 using the index and cursor keys. 6 seconds is a common value which works in most situations. Now that ZGO and pre-roll are set, we are ready to locate the entire system. To monitor the MIDI position, we will return to the MIDI tempo map display. Press the group key until the display reads DB120.00. Enable both transports, master and slave. Enable MIDI. All 3 amber LEDs will light. Pressing the left-hand Shift key and then Go To will locate the entire system to the Z Go point minus the pre-roll value. Now press the Stop Continue key and the system will start, chase, then lock. When locked, the red lock LED will light. The sequencer is playing at the default tempo of 120 beats per minute. To change this tempo, first stop the system by pressing the Stop Continue key. We are still at the tempo map display. To change the tempo to 140 beats per minute, use the index and cursor keys to change 120 to 140. Notice a star is present in the middle of the display. This indicates that the tempo of 140 beats per minute is a temporary value. To permanently change the tempo map, we need to mark 2 spots between which the new tempo exists. Move the cursor to the right until you reach the thousands of bars position. Press the right-hand Shift key and then index down to force the tempo map to be at bar 1, beat 1, 16th note number 1. Now press Capture to mark the first point. Mark A is displayed. Next, press index up once and tempo map will be at plus 501, denoting the end of the default sequence length. Now press Capture again to mark the second point. The display will read Changes OK. We have just changed the tempo from 120 beats per minute to 140 beats per minute, from bar 1 to bar 500. You can change tempos on any 16th note in the song. This covers the basics of the ZETA-3 MIDI interface. For additional information, please consult your instruction manual. The Zeta remote greatly extends the capability of the ZETA-3. Its numeric keypad and direct group access keys speed up many operational functions. Other added features include operation of multiple ZETA-3s, dual displays, full transport control, function keys, a timecode calculator, a 100-point autolocator, a 100-point edit memory, variable speed control, and a handy undo key. Most remote operations are exactly the same as on the ZETA-3 front panel. One of the enhanced features is individual display keys for each display group. Pressing the appropriate display key provides direct access to that display group. For example, press the green MIDI display key and the tempo map display will appear in the lower display. The upper display can also be selected by holding down the record key and pressing the appropriate group display key. For example, to show slave timecode in the upper display, hold down record and press the green slave display key. Another enhancement is the transport control keys, which replace the Stop Continue key on the ZETA-3 front panel. This allows complete control over all devices in the system. Transport commands are issued to the current system master as defined by the leftmost enabled device. One of the most useful features of the remote is the 100-point autolocator, which allows you to set and save 100 system locate points expressed in timecode or in MIDI bars and beats. To enter a locate point, press memory and then key in 00. The lower display now shows memory location 00. To enter a timecode value, simply enter a timecode value using the keypad. To enter a MIDI bar beat number, press Shift, then Memory, and again using the numeric keypad, enter a valid bar beat value. To locate the system to the position stored in memory 00, press Locate and 00. The system will locate to the position specified. That about wraps it up. In this tape, we've only had time to touch the surface of the ZETA-3's capabilities. With a little time and practice, you'll find new and exciting uses for your Adam Smith ZETA-3.